Welcome to Reddit Aliens. What is something that you thought was normal, but it turns out it isn't? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Visual snow. My whole life, my field of vision has always been covered by shifting, multicolored dots of light, similar to light snow on an old TV transmission, hence the name. I see it all of the time. I never don't see it, though it is worse in the dark or if staring at the sky. In the dark or when I close my eyes, it is all I see. I thought everyone had this until my early 20s. I have astigmatism, so I see light in streaks. For the longest time, I thought that was how everyone saw it. I was joking around with my friends in 8th grade history, and we were trying to see how many pencils we could stick into my friend's afro, with his consent. And right as I was trying to lift my arm and put the pencil in his hair, one of them cracked a joke that sent us into a fit of laughter. My arms went limp, and when my friends started coaxing me to put it in, I told them I couldn't. They were noticeably confused, so when I regained my composure, I explained that every time I laugh, my muscles go limp, and I am not able to move them. It ranges from droopy head and weak knees to full body collapse because of the term rollover laughing and portrayals of people in media falling over in laughter. I thought this happened to everyone, and they were just better at controlling it. My friends all agreed that it in fact did not happen to them and that I should get it checked with a doctor. 1 year later, I was diagnosed with type 1 narcolepsy, a sleep disorder characterized by excessive daytime sleepiness and cataplexy. Cataplexy happens when a trigger, such as strong emotions like laughter or fear, trigger a sudden loss of muscle tone, making it difficult to move, stand, or even breathe. I was lucky to be diagnosed as early and as quick as I was, since the condition is widely unknown outside of the context of narcolepsy patients and specialists. The symptoms of narcolepsy are so common in both puberty, where it starts to present more heavily, and other diagnoses such as depression and anxiety. It's estimated that around 1 in 2,000 people have this disorder, and the lucky few that actually get diagnosed usually only do so later in life after 5 to 10 years of multiple tests and misdiagnosis. The takeaway from this is that if you think that other people deal with it better or suck it up or control it better, chances are that's not normal, and you should speak up about it. I thought it was normal for every friend group to have one person that everyone picked on for no reason. I don't mean light roasting, I mean legitimately bullying them and putting them down. My brother's friend group had one, with my brother being a primary instigator. I was the punching bag in my middle school friend group. It took until the end of high school or the beginning of college for me to actually be treated like a person and realize that friends aren't supposed to make you feel like shit about yourself. I'm from Pennsylvania. Growing up, when we went to a restaurant and I ordered my favorite eggs, I would say 2 dippy eggs please. It wasn't until I got married and moved out to the western part of the country that I realized most people don't call them that. I can still see the look on the waitress's face when I asked for dippy eggs. Apparently, most people call them sunny side up. I rather enjoy the regional quirks about like people from certain parts of Ohio say pop instead of soda, pie for pizza in New York. How about ones from your area? I was raised to always ask permission to have water, a snack, turn on the TV, or go to the bathroom anytime I'm in someone else's home. My best friend's mom thought it was weird that I would ask permission for smaller things like, may I grab a knife and fork for my pizza, instead of, where can I find a knife and fork, was super weird to her. That most people aren't constantly aware of their heart beating and don't get numb legs just from walking a few meters uphill and don't lie in bed at night wondering whether they'll die in their sleep because their heart does funky things when they lay down. Turns out I have a heart condition, lol. I feel so at peace now that I'm on medication for it. Not being able to watch movies or shows without closed captions or subtitles. Also, never understanding what they're saying on the radio. Turns out I have an auditory processing disorder. If I don't see people's lips moving, my brain doesn't recognize their words more than half the time. Pooping once in 3 to 7 days. Since childhood, I always do it in that frequency. However, when I was 21, my doctor told me that it's not normal at all and it should be an everyday thing. I always thought that everyone does it once in 3 to 7 days, not every day. I always thought when you try to talk to someone about something they do that bugs you or is just something that you feel the need to bring up because it affects you, that it's normal for the person to get upset when you bring it up, and for them to disagree with you, resulting in yelling and fighting. I always thought this until I was talking with my friend about something they do that really pisses me off, and they just sat there and thanked me for bringing it to their attention, and was completely chill about it. No yelling or argument. It was a weird feeling because I just kept waiting for the disagreeing and yelling to happen, and when it didn't, I felt like something was missing. LOL. Hearing music play, even when you aren't listening to anything, and no, I'm not talking about when you have a song stuck in your head and it's just your thoughts singing the lyrics. I mean actually hearing music when nothing is there. I used to think my house was haunted by a ghost that loved to play music. Later on, as I got older, I thought it just happens to everyone, until I read about musical hallucinations online and found out how rare it actually is. And no, it's not fun. I was talking with my friends in first period and I said, doesn't it suck how cereal makes you have diarrhea? It's so good, but you gotta make time for it, you know what I mean? They looked at me all crazy and said that it didn't happen to them. That's the day I figured out I was lactose intolerant, because my siblings had this problem too. I thought it was normal. All of us, as poor kids, were just suffering through the pain. Having to hide when your parents are fighting. I only found this was not normal when I went to a friend's house and their parents had an argument that I expected to turn into a screaming fit just like it does with my parents. I got up expecting to have to hide with my friend before they started full-on fighting. I was then informed by his concerned parents that it's not normal to have to do that. Having a whole complex of rooms in your head and about 16 people in there chilling and having convos with them, it's all positive. They're kind of my way of getting things out and processing thoughts and emotions. I do all sorts in my subconscious mind, palace, and it's very entertaining, but everyone finds it kind of weird. Picturing things in your head, I have a friend with aphantasia, and she was flabbergasted when she realized people could visualize things in their brain. Allergies that cause anxiety. Basically, a while back, I got tested for a bunch of allergies. Strawberries came up pretty high, but I love strawberries and have never had a rash or anything from them, so the doctor person said it probably just gave me extra anxiety, accepted it as normal and moved on. The subject came up with my old biology teacher relatively recently, and he was surprised and said that's very rare. I still eat strawberries. What's a little extra anxiety anyway? My parents are African, and rice was a huge staple growing up. So when I went grocery shopping with my American college roommates for the first time, they were surprised that I went to grab a 20-pound bag of rice. They were white and were weirded out when they saw my lotion. They assumed it was for other reasons besides moisturizing my skin and not being ashy. Lice. Growing up, I had lice almost every summer. I thought everyone got lice growing up. I thought lice was just a summer bug that we kids got. When I got with my ex and talked to him about my childhood and how we always got lice, he was shook. It was apparently not normal for children to get lice on a regular basis. Yeah. My dad used to leave us in the car while he went into the bar to see a man about a dog. We always thought he was in talks about getting us a puppy. I was an adult when it dawned on me he was in there drinking, and see a man about dog was just an expression. The innocence of youth. Hopefully your dad didn't talk about getting too many puppies too often. Not everyone struggles to concentrate on a task or have the mental energy to take care of things. Apparently I have ADD. I found out 2 years ago life didn't have to be a daily struggle when I started taking a medication for a sleep problem, and one of its off-label uses is to treat ADD. I was actually told repeatedly as a kid I had ADHD, but they always told me it was my fault and treated it as if the issue was voluntary. So I grew up believing I was just a lazy dreamer who gets overly stressed by having too many tasks. I've lived my life thinking everyone else was better than me because they can get things done. Nope. I've just needed meds my entire life. Now I wonder how different my childhood would have been if I had been treated back then. Randomly tasting food that isn't being cooked and that I haven't had in who knows how long. I'll just randomly have the taste of certain type of chicken or a cheeseburger, and then get a craving to have that type of food. My boyfriend thinks I'm weird because of it. For years, I thought everyone got sick at the feeling of certain textures, kind of like seeing big bugs and stuff, like the same feeling that gives you. Later learned I have a psychiatrist and therapist trying to figure out if I have ADHD or if I'm on the autism spectrum. Being able to give myself goosebumps on command. I only realized last year, I'm in my 30s, when watching Taskmaster, and one of the tasks was give yourself goosebumps, fastest wins. And I wondered why they didn't all just induce them like I do. Turns out it's a rare ability that only 1 in 1,500 people have. Abdominal pain. Turns out I have gastrointestinal issues. But when everyone tells you as a kid to suck it up, be tough, it's just a tummy ache. You get the idea that everyone deals with it and you're just being a whiny kid. Now, when I get really bad flare-ups, I end up in the ER on morphine. Having to deliberately learn all your social skills. I assumed other people just got more practice because I didn't have many friends growing up. Years of work did help me a lot, but I only recently realized most people learn these things without thinking much about it. It's like the difference between glancing at a sentence and immediately getting it meaning versus figuring out each word letter by letter. I can blow snot out of my eye. When I was younger, it just started happening. So whenever I blow my nose, I covered my left eye, one that snot comes out of, so snot wouldn't shoot out. Found out not everyone does this a few years back. Ugh. Subconsciously adapting my speech patterns to whoever is around me. I'll start picking up their accent, words they use frequently, etc. Turns out this is a common thing, neurodiversive people, and it's more seen in women if I'm not mistaken. It could cause me issues, however. Thing is, I'm much more self-conscious about this when I talk to black people, because I'm white. And I swear I'm not trying to do a black accent on purpose, it just kinda happens. Perfect pitch. I fell in love with the piano at 4, and always thought it was normal as a color vision. I had no idea what pitch pipes were for. I assumed they were for synchronizing groups of people. It wasn't until I saw someone use one by herself on TV that I realized she genuinely couldn't hear the difference between notes. Later, I was looking up Game Genie codes and found one called Weird Music that changes every note to A, just on different octaves. Is that what music sounds like for you guys? How do you even listen to it? I've also had trouble with transposing since I remember individual notes more than intervals. I can imagine a piece in my head in its native key, but I have to transpose it note by note and can imagine it in others. Thinking airline food tastes great. Turns out this is a side effect of my insomnia. Normal people's sense smell declines in an airplane because of the lower pressure, causing your nasal passages to dry out and swell, which makes food taste worse. Airlines actually take this into account and try to make the food have appealing flavors that don't depend as much in smell. Since I don't have a sense of smell in the first place, airline food is practically designed to taste good for me. I usually get really confused why people dunked on it so much before I figured this out. I have a few medications I need to take for my mental health. Some I need to take at night, some in the morning. I've gotten into the habit of, rather than reading the label for which ones I need, I will shake the bottle and know which ones to take based off of the sounds the pills make when they rattle. Let me say I was shocked when I was informed this is not normal. I've played violin since I was 3 years old, so I learned the letter names of each string and the finger numbers, and whenever I heard a song I always thought of a letter or number with each note. To me, it was plainly obvious what each letter and number was, and my brain even expanded the letter and number system to work with cello and the entire piano range. Turns out, not every violinist has this, let alone absolute pitch. Frequency in Western countries, 1 in 10,000. When I was 20, I discovered it was synesthesia, a harmless linking of senses or concepts in the brain. That seemed to check out, since people's faces often have smells or tastes associated with them. Mine tastes like white sugar out of the packet. My brother's is hard-boiled eggs, and whenever someone mentions a particular date on a particular year, I envision a giant number line. Also, letters have emotions. E is happy, but lowercase e is even happier. Capital N is happy, but lowercase n is sad. And the months of the year go in a giant counterclockwise circle, with my birthday in October being at the bottom. 2 is sad, 3 is happy. I don't know if this is a blessing or a curse or somewhere in between, but I find this completely fascinating and would like to learn more about it. Thanks for sharing. Being able to answer to most math problems without knowing any techniques. This was something that I actually struggled with until I was about 16 or so, as I could see the answer but not explain how I knew the answer. My 7th and 8th grade years were hell, as I could give the correct answers, but the teachers thought I was cheating, until they sparingly sprang a separate test just for me, and I would ace it. Once I got into higher math, my teacher started to see that I just knew how it worked, and that I could break down nearly any math problem into a simple and basic math problem. When I was in college in multivariable calculus, the professor wondered why I would skip entire sections of the process. When I was able to point out that certain techniques were simply multiplying or dividing out a certain part of the equation and show them the proof, they let it slide. It helps in my job where I look at numbers all day, but it just irks people that I just see the answers and can tell if it is correct.